is up, everybody? It is your boy Lou Martinez, aka Big Chief Burrito, here with another episode live this time of Fireside Chats with Big Chief Burrito. And just a reminder that if you are watching this live or on repeat, make sure that you are following us at facebook.com/2mburrito so you can be notified when we go live with interesting interviews with interesting people. If you play video games, if you do stuff on Twitch, you can follow us at twitch.tv/2mburrito. You're going to notice a trend here. And if you're on YouTube watching old podcasts, independent movies, all kinds of funny stuff, you can go to, youtube.com/2amburrito. Remember to like and share the stream, please, if you can. Make sure you ask questions in the comment section. Leave a like on the stream. Leave it open on a tablet if you have to go somewhere. Thanks for all the support in advance. But today, I am talking with somebody, and we're talking a little bit off stream about this, that I have known about for several years here in San Diego, somebody that's making projects, making movies, making films. President of Rising Tide Creatives, Mr. Aaron David Roberts. Thanks for joining me today, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Looking forward to, like we said, finally connecting. It's nice. one of the many those internet people that you have in your life, right? You know them only through the internet, but those are some of my best relationships.
I feel like it was either going to be this or it was going to be like an awkward thing at like a Whole Foods. Or just kind of like,
is that you?
Like the Spider-Man thing, like, hey, I know you from Facebook. Hey,
yeah, exactly.
But let's jump into it, man, because we had to postpone this because I was waiting for a burrito, ironically.
Brand on brand, so
I stay on brand, man. But I did want to talk to you about a lot of stuff because you're somebody that's here locally, but you've also produced stuff that's been recognized, kind of outside the San Diego bubble, so to speak. So I kind of wanted to talk to you about your career in filmmaking. Is it something that, and I always ask this question for filmmakers, obviously, is it something that you were always passionate about? Like, did you walk around as a kid thinking about the stories that you wanted to tell? Or is it something that you gravitated to later on?
It's a mix of both. It's something I kind of almost took for granted at first growing up. My dad has been in the TV industry since he was 19. So when I grew up, he was the head of his own production company. So I grew up going to set. I grew up with my dad talking about the industry and picking apart TV commercials. So I also kind of had a natural gravitation towards, the DV cam that we had for the family. We'd make our own Star Wars spoofs and, other fake detective TV shows and all that stuff in junior high. And then in high school, anytime there was the option for like a video project, instead of writing an essay or doing a presentation, I gravitated towards that. But I didn't necessarily think entirely that I was going to jump headfirst into like owning a production company and doing the same thing my dad did. I was really into baseball growing up. I played through part of my high school years until I got hurt. So then when that happened, that was kind of like the whole, like, okay, let's rethink, what do I really want to do with my life? So
center field, second base, where were you at?
Let's see, I was a catcher mainly. Catcher, a little bit of pitching, and then, corner outfield, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you took sort of the let's say like the J.J. Abrams sort of route of being around it and having access to like cameras and stuff to play around with and shit like that, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, I've been growing up. I mean, yeah, it was always our own stuff. I didn't actually start writing scripts and doing it formally until I got outside of high school. It would always just be more like point and shoot and, oh, hey, say this funny shit, say this thing, say that thing, and just kind of putting ourselves in situations and improvising through it. So it wasn't until I got out of high school and was like, okay, I'm going to sit down and try to actually do a TV pilot that I actually started writing, which was what eventually became the cast members. Was the first thing we started writing back in 2015. So yeah, I definitely very much kind of came into it just through being around it. And then, when it came time of like, what am I going to do with my life? It seemed like, fuck it. Let's be creative. Let's try this. This is fun. It's not, even when I would be on set working those 12-hour days being a PA, I'm so much more fulfilled than my regular 9-to-5 job back when I used to have a regular 9-to-5 job. So it just kind of is something that, like, yeah, I fell into a little bit somewhat by accident and somewhat by just having it be in the family. And here I am, another seven years down the line after starting. So.
Do you think that there's a difference between a director that gets to directing via starting as a PA, grip, moving up sort of the chain of command, versus a director that starts off maybe as an actor and kind of gravitates different? Do you think that the way you learn those things to get to there, it makes a difference?
Probably. I mean, for me, I definitely know that, you know, I'm going to respect the fuck out of every PA that ever steps foot on my set, because I know, you know, first of all, I know how important they are. I know being a PA, I know some of the things you do, they're so behind the scenes, you know, the viewer's never going to know, but it's essential production. It's essential that we eat. Someone needs to go grab the food. I'm directing on set. I can't go grab the fucking food. You know, it's like that's important. It's important that your cast and crew is fed. That's necessary. It's necessary that that order also doesn't get fucked up, right? We only have so much time to eat on set, you know? So definitely going up through that, and yeah, being a grip and carrying C-stands and knowing how heavy the equipment is, you know, I definitely have a really good appreciation for it. That I can't speak obviously for other actors and directors who kind of come from different backgrounds, but I do know for myself, you know, I have a great respect for those below the line grunt positions that are starting out in the industry.
Every first time director needs that old grizzled, you know, PA grip to sort of be like, you don't even really need to say anything. You just sort of look when they look unhappy. You know, you gotta be like, yeah, you know what I mean? Out of all the parts of filmmaking, which one do you feel that which one do you like the best, and does it coincide with what you like doing the most, like editing, writing, producing, directing?
That's hard. I definitely think my favorite aspect overall of being a filmmaker is the collaboration. So just the fact of working together with other creatives from the start, from pre-production in your writing phase, through working with actors, and then through post-production when you're working with editors or sound mixers and sound design and score and all that stuff. I love the team aspect, right? I came from being a baseball player, would be the captain of the baseball team. I loved working as a team, practicing as a team, growing as a team.
Yeah, that C on your chest?
Yeah, you know.
Derek Jeter over here.
Yeah, a little bit. If I had like a little more talent, maybe, you know. But it definitely, I think I gravitate towards being on set as my favorite part. I mean, like, there's really nothing there's nothing like it when you're just in the middle of it, and when you're directing and when you're working with those actors and you're watching playback on monitor and you nail the shot. I mean, it's a feeling second. I think what I might be best at in reality is my editing skills. My post-production skills are what I've built my company on. I've really learned that anything that gets made anywhere that you like is because of editing. I mean, it's also because of 18,000 other things. But if the editing was shit, especially if it's something like comedy, if the editing is not there, if the editing is too slow, if the editing misses the joke, then you ruined all the work that went before it. So I think editing's probably my best skill, just in terms of the many hats I do wear. So
yeah, I think I'm probably best at producing, and which is unfortunate because I love directing, obviously writing and stuff like that. But you know, I'm you know, I guess at this indie level, you're pretty much, you know, from director on up, it's usually sometimes the same person. You know, you're very close to it. I've always thought that there's nothing like day one, shot one. Obviously, that's like the best feeling. Day one, shot one. That's, you know, you get that just calm before the storm, and seeing and seeing the reaction of people. A lot of the people that I talk to are in the horror genre, so I don't really get to talk to them about comedy. You know, but you know. What is that like for you, being in a theater, seeing a joke land, seen something land that you didn't necessarily think is funny because maybe you've watched it 8 billion times over and over, but the audience is watching it for the first time and reacts? How is that feeling for you? Because for me, it's like heroin.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those feelings that, I also come from being like I'm a musician, so I've done playing live on stage, and it's as close as you get. Showing your movie in front of a live audience is basically the parallel of the film world to being on stage. And we chartered the last TV pilot I did. We got into the Catalyst Film Festival last year. Up in Minnesota, kind of like the big festival for independent TV. And yeah, being at a couple of those screenings in a packed house with 60, 70 people laughing at, when they get every joke and when they get the little ones that you weren't sure if they're going to get and they're laughing at it, it's hard not to just feel fucking great, right? I mean, you definitely, you can feel accomplished, and you get that validation that sometimes it's hard, especially when people like you and I are mainly releasing the stuff online. So we're not getting a lot of that instant feedback of like, oh yeah, that is funny, that did land.
Now, Chartered, both Chartered and cast members similar kind of style wise. Did you always gravitate to that, like to that mockumentary style? Is that something that did you have like this a Spinal Tap on repeat when you were a kid, or did you because I feel it's kind of like it's a new genre, it's a new-ish genre in of itself, that it's not really a comedy, but how did you what was the reason you kind of gravitated to that style?
Yeah, I mean, we played with a couple different styles in the writer's room before, we settled on keeping the mockumentary thing. I mean, I am a huge kind of like the shows that I started watching in junior high, kind of up through high school, were I started watching The Office, I think season 3, season 4, which was like right in its best run. I started watching Parks and Rec from the beginning, and and Modern Family is another show that I ended up kind of picking up in the middle of its run. And what I really like about the mockumentary, I think it adds a lot more opportunity for jokes when the camera's there, and then when characters can address the camera and address things that are actually going on, it gives you, especially for TV. I mean, it's funny because for movies, I actually find it as a little more maybe of an impressive thing to kind of work in and tell the story and not have it feel kind of kitschy. And movies don't really do it as much. I mean, it's like a couple of those like big movies that have done it, and then it kind of would be like, oh, you're just maybe trying to do Spinal Tap, whatever. But for TV, where you're trying to hypothetically set something up where you're going to get to know these people for hopefully hundreds of episodes, or at least 50, 60, 70 episodes, I think it's fun when they're interacting with the audience, and when they're interacting with you, and when they're commenting on their own world that you guys are both kind of a part of. So that's kind of, I think, one of the big things that draws me towards mockumentaries, for sure.
Yeah, because there's the two things about the mockumentaries. It's number one, it's when you have that idea in your head, or why are these people being watched? And then the second part is, I think that sometimes, and I noticed this maybe a little bit in Uncharted, not so much in cast members, was that, and another as well, is that it's hard to keep the only live camera, so you have this tendency to sort of be like, all right, let's mix in the live camera with some steady shots and some classic over the shoulder 1-2s, and then you're like, wait, why don't I see the camera in this shot if this is supposed to be, well, and that's just like an overthinking filmmaker, right? Like, it just, sometimes, that'll take me out of something, but yeah. I think it's definitely a valid genre for what you said, for being able to establish a cast, establish different characters. I think it might be easier to write for, just because you don't, you're not thinking of it as like a 30-minute movie or a 21-minute movie, right?
Yeah, definitely.
How old were you when you started making cast members?
I guess I think I was about 20 or 21 when we started writing it. So we started that process back in 2015, February 2015, and we finally released the pilot June of 2017. So
Sorry, I was just laughing at a couple of the comments that were coming in right now. Just hilarious. Wait there. Just say thank you for watching W Man. Zero in the chat room. What a loser. All right, thank you.
This is so sad.
I'm about to go find another chat room. Well, W Man, thank you for the view, man. I hope that you're having a great day, staying cool this summer day. I'm sorry I got distracted. Is that from your did some of that come from your personal experience, your friend's experience? Is that you just?
Oh yeah, my first job out of high school was working at a movie theater.
Okay.
So it definitely was ripped straight from. I was working at a movie theater. My cousin was working at a movie theater, and then one of my buddies from high school, who I started writing the pilot with, Robert Coe, was also working at a movie theater. So we just had all these stories to draw from, and we were like, how is this not a TV show? Because it's pretty fucking ridiculous working at a movie theater. So that's kind of where, that's where the idea came from.
Did you also go to a charter school?
I did. I'm from the Kevin Smith school of write what you know. Write what you know, write your life, and that's what I do, and that's what I've done so far. So
yeah, man, Slapworthy's about a guy who works at a call center, and I worked at a call center for 15 years. So
exactly, write what you know, write what you know.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it was funny. Like I always tell people, is because I ran a call center, so I trained tons of people, and I was just be like, man, eventually I'm going to start doing what I like. I'm going to direct movies and stuff, and then they would be like. I didn't realize I was learning how to be a better director. Just the fact that I can get up in front of a room of 120 different type of people, command their attention, explain to them what I want. Yep. Like I was learning how to meet somebody and figure out how to motivate them. I was learning all these things that I didn't really realize was about shit. Isn't it? When I finally started directing movies, I was like, this is hard. Some hardwired stuff that you got to learn. But this is another question I ask filmmakers sometime, which is, let's say it's day one, shot one, cast members, right? And time travel is a thing. And 2020, Aaron David Roberts goes back in time, and he's got 5 minutes to talk with 2015 Aaron David Roberts, and other than telling them to like register a bunch of people to vote in like Georgia or something, what would you tell yourself before you embarked on your like serious filmmaking journey?
Other than warning them of the impending consequences of of a 2016 election.
Other than invest in Bitcoin, hand sanitizer, and toilet paper. Other than that, what do you tell yourself?
It's funny because I didn't have an answer at first, and then the answer came and hit me in the face because I forgot. It's the answer I'd give myself about all of my past projects. Mm-hmm. Stop what you're doing right now and go write it more. Go take more time to write it. Go take more time. You brought all these people here. You've got all these people willing. I mean, for cast members, I had people, I don't think the budget was maybe $3,000, $4,000 in total, and probably half of that went to the location. I mean, everybody was working for free or on deferred payment contracts. So I would tell myself, hey, you've got all these people here to do a thing. They're all taking their time. They're giving their talents. Take more time on the script. Really focus on this thing. Really test this thing. Really run it through table reads. Run it through writers' rooms. Take more time. Because that was my biggest thing. If I go back and look at any of my work, and I feel the same way about Chartered still. I mean, I spent $30,000 on Chartered, and if I could go back and tell myself even 2-3 weeks, a month before production on that, I would be like, yeah, take more time on the script. Focus on this more. I used to be real like, oh yeah, we write the script and the actors will improv the script and we'll kind of come up with it together on set. And that has a way of doing it, but I'm not Larry David yet. I'm not, I wasn't that bad. I had more than just an outline, but at the same time, it was definitely, it's by far the biggest thing I've learned is that, all right, if I can just have a killer fucking script and then get it out into production, it'll just go so much easier instead of me recutting things 1,000 times or trying to save it in the edit or trying to do this, that, and the other thing, you know.
How many drafts do you think at minimum? You think 4 or 5 drafts at minimum, right?
Oh,
Probably
I'll tell you right now.
Probably like 6, 7, right?
I'll tell you right now. We've been working on a movie for almost 2 years, just about done with it. I'm probably on draft 14 or 15.
Yeah, that's a feature.
Yeah, and it's going to be different from a feature to a pilot. But yeah, I would say when you're talking more about that 6 to 7 6, 7 drafts, 6 to 8. You know, it really depends.
Minimum.
Yeah, I mean, you might hit the nail on the head in time 4. You know, it's not that, but as long as or at least for myself, as long as I've gone to all my industry friends, gotten notes, as long as I've done multiple table reads and brought it together with actual actors so I can hear it and see how it sounds and feel the pacing of it. So if you've done that a bunch of times and you feel it's tight and you're getting feedback from everybody that's like, hey, yeah, this is good, this moves, then move on, then move into production. You know, that's what I'm trying to do now.
Well, one of the things I noticed about you is you're one of the people that I've seen out there that's actually like, hey, this is a pilot that I have. I'm looking for people to critique it. You know, you're like, you know, a lot of people are just like, oh no, you're gonna steal my jokes. Oh my god, you know, like I don't know. I think San Diego shoots a lot of second drafts, and I think, and I don't know if that's because they're used to just doing the 48 and nothing else. But there's a lot of shit that just that I see it and it's just telegraphed, and I'm like,
100%.
What the you know. And I would tell myself the same thing, because I mean, we have a 2-hour feature film that I was writing scene by scene as the scenes were scheduled. I had a Excel sheet with my 30-something scenes, and I knew exactly what was going to happen. Right? I knew what was happening, but it was like, all right, we just locked down this location. We got the actors. We can shoot this scene. All right, how? When? 4 days from now. I'm like, oh,
okay.
Fuck, all right. I guess I'm writing scene 4A today, and I think that's the reason that my first feature doesn't work as a full story, but the individual scenes are a little bit better. Like I made sure that I gave people stuff to do, and I try to give stuff for the actors, since, like you said, people are giving up their time. You know, we did Blacklisted that George Jack was in. We had 127 SAG eligible actors on a fucking, you know, local San Diego production that was under $50K in budget, you know, and I'm just like, fuck, man, if I could just know that the resources we were going to have and just, you know, talk to myself, it would probably be just write it all out, rewrite it, share it, you know, with people that you trust, get feedback, right?
Oh yeah. Like I said, I put $30,000 on credit cards for Chartered, and there was probably about another $70,000 worth of time and equipment and people's energy donated to it. So yeah, if I, you know, you obviously try to just learn from the past, right? Not kick yourself up over it, not beat yourself up over it. So that was my biggest. Yeah, exactly. And you have to know that you're learning. You're learning every day. I'm learning all the time, and I know that. I mean, me as a filmmaker, producer, me as everything, writer, filmmaker, producer, director, editor, all those things. I am immensely better than I was 2 years ago. So obviously I'm going to have learned some things, and there's some things I'm going to do bad. And hopefully 2 years from now, I'll be immensely better than I am right now. I mean, you know, hopefully that's kind of just what the continual growth is. So.
What are you most proud of as a filmmaker, if you had to isolate one of your projects?
I mean, it was definitely, I guess it kind of goes back and forth, you know. So with the cast members, we released it and we kind of went a little viral. You know, in total, we've got like 500,000 hits on the Facebook page. We got like a really cool engaged audience of like 3,200 people who are pretty much all ex-movie theater workers or current movie theater workers. And I got so much engagement real time with an audience going, oh my God, I love this. This relates, this connects. Why has nobody done this about us? They're sharing it with their friends. They're tagging people. And so being able to see real time the joy that something I created is actually bringing people who are movie theater workers, which was part of why I created it, right? Seeing that validation was is still one of my favorite things. It's one of my favorite things that I still can go and connect with that audience and share something about working at a movie theater, and I'll interact with people, and you know, the page is still kind of alive. But really getting chartered into Catalyst Film Festival last year just probably ranks just a little bit higher because it's finally that industry validation. I had never put any of my other work into any film festivals. Generally, film festivals for TV pilots. What's a film festival for a TV pilot? It's local stuff. You're going to get it viewed, but it's not necessarily going to go anywhere unless it's at like one of the like kind of three, like South by Southwest, Catalyst Film Festival, or there's one like called the New York TV Festival. From at least from my research, especially 3 years ago, those were about the only ones that took TV pilots seriously and actually had TV industry people at the festival. So entering chartered, it was the first time I'd ever entered anything into a festival, and we got in, and you know, one of only 10 comedy selections out of I think a couple thousand submissions overall. So you know, having that type of validation that at least I know, hey, we were in the top 10 of comedy this year out of, you know, hundreds, thousands of other people. It's definitely probably the highlight. So
that's good answer.
Thanks.
Just trying to motivate you, brother. Let's talk a little bit about politics and filmmaking, right?
Oh boy.
You know, shit. You know, wanted to get at least 28 minutes so that I know there's no more. Usually at this point, all the Republicans do not. No, they're not talking about anything interesting. Not guns, not flag. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. I love all my, you know, Republicans watch YouTube and Twitch too. I'm just kidding, man. It's just fucking, it's all love. Usually we don't talk about politics, religion, on set at the dinner table. That's usually like, come on, let's we're here, we're working together. Recently, like, and I've had this conversation with like Merrick McCarthy, Randy Davidson, like, you know, I was asking them just basically like, you know, what would you do if you get a part and then you show up on set, the director's wearing a MAGA hat? Or what would you do if, you know, you knew that an actor that had previously worked on this set was let go or left because he had political kind of issues with the cast and crew? Do you feel that it's possible to separate the two right now, or is it just so interwoven with what life is like now that you can't really, you know, just go on set, go to work without having to deal with that in some sort of way?
I mean, admittedly, it is pretty intertwined right now. I mean, the political situation in this country, no matter what side you're on, you seem to be very concerned, and you know, I definitely would say with good reason. But I mean, personally, I haven't run any big sets since all this. I mean, on chartered, it really wasn't an issue. For what it's worth, the production team was pretty much like a me at the left wing. We had one of our producers pretty down the middle, and one of our producers is a Trump supporter on chartered. And you know, we were able to make it work. We all gave each other shit. You know, I think that's the biggest thing is, can you still be good natured about it? Can you still have, you know, if you're going to be a Republican wearing a MAGA hat, can you not shove it in everyone's face like an asshole? I'm not saying the hat is, but you know, generally the people who wear the hats might also be a little boisterous with their feelings about the hats and feelings on the people who don't wear the hats, you know. So if everyone can, you know, keep things civil, we need to be able to return to a place in this country where we can actually talk about politics if we disagree, because if we don't, I think everybody kind of agrees that that doesn't spell good news for the future of this country. So, you know, I'd like to think that we can get to a point where, you know, it's not so divisive. I mean, right now, I honestly, all I can say is if anybody, right wing, left wing, center of the wing, whatever the fuck, if anybody became a distraction on set and starts to put themselves in front of the teamwork production that we're all working on, then I'd have a problem with it. So, you know, and it definitely could potentially go both ways, but you know, I'm not about to necessarily say like, oh, I'm not going to work with that guy because I know what his political views are. You know, is it going to influence me? Potentially. I'm not saying that I'm not going to be necessarily aware if you're a very loud Trump supporter that that's what you are, and that may butt heads with people in my cast. But if you're the best person for the role, I'll give you a chance to, you know, to make it work on set.
Prove me wrong.
Yeah. You know, if I've had to fire people from set before, I'll do it again if I have to. So
I just think it's an interesting conversation, but also think it's interesting from an actor's perspective, because sometimes it goes the other way. Sometimes I've seen like outspoken directors, producers that just spew a bunch of this garbage, and then I check and I have 120 mutual friends, and I'm like, cool, I don't need this person in my life. I'm like, these actors are all just hanging in there. Hey, if you need somebody who looks like me, I know you spew a bunch of hatred, but keep me in mind for any roles. Like, I just which I understand is like, you gotta eat, you gotta work, but so that's how I used to think that actors sort of had to be more tolerant, because they should be able to work with anybody. You know, like Michael Jordan says, like, Republicans buy Nikes, right? But on the other hand, now it's almost like these actors that are going out of the way, like, you snowflakes and this and that and blah blah blah, and I'm just like, okay, you're aligning yourself with positions that affect me directly and that insult me directly, and I'm just like, I don't know if I would like to think that I would at least give the person a chance to prove me wrong. In terms, they'd have to blow me away with their talent for me to just be like, if you're right for the part, you're right for the part. It is what it is. I will forgive a lot if you're right for the part. But I just find a lot of actors are putting themselves in this weird position where they're basically yelling at a very left-leaning established like filmmakers are for the majority, especially comedians. Liberals. Yeah. Are Republicans funny? Sometimes. There's funny Republicans. You got your, like, I don't know, Dennis Miller, Nick DiPaolo, maybe. I don't know. There's a couple of them, but I'm just saying, like, it seems like you're spitting into the wind in that sense, right?
Yeah, I totally. I mean, I definitely think it would be. I grew up. The funny thing always with this political stuff for me is I grew up Republican. I grew up watching Fox News. I grew up conservative Christian. And so, we always thought, oh, Hollywood, liberal Hollywood, that's what it is. That's what it's always going to be, always trying to push their agenda. So it's definitely been interesting seeing.
They brainwashed you in college, didn't they?
Yeah.
That's what Trump's fighting for.
No, actually, I didn't actually go to college.
Okay.
But Bernie Sanders still brainwashed me around that same
time. There you
go. It was that same 18, get out of high school. You see that, I always say I watched them paint Obama for 8 years as literally like the Antichrist, the worst stain on American politics. And I graduated high school 2012, and those last 4 years, I'll admit it, I voted for Mitt Romney, but then I see another 4 years of Obama, and I'm like, they never even gave this guy a chance. They talk shit about him. They didn't let him do anything. And and then you just hear Bernie Sanders start talking all the Bernie Sanders stuff he talks, and I'm just like, oh well, this all makes sense.
They just wanted to obstruct. They just wanted to obstruct Obama. That was the whole thing.
Yeah, that was literally the whole goal from the beginning. So
the DNC did Bernie so dirty 2 times. So dirty. I was a huge Bernie supporter, and like my whole thing with him is this. I just feel like there's this theme. Not even from just right wing, but left wing as well, where it's just like, if you want to imagine a better world, it's like they laugh at you. Like, why is it so bad for us to want more than what we already have? Why is it so horrible to like imagine a place where it's like, hey, you don't have to worry about healthcare? Fuck that shit. You gotta work for your healthcare, motherfucker. What if you could just walk in and get just shit taken care of? Why would that be so? Fuck. Like. I don't know. I just think there's a theme running through people's mind that it's like, this is the way America is, and that's how it has to fucking be, and it's sad. It's fucking You know,
it is sad.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it all comes from the media, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's, like I said, as I grew up watching that Fox News bullshit, I can see that if this is just what you're feeding yourself, you're just going to think that the reality of what reality is maybe a little different from what the rest of us are seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, does this ever affect you? Not necessarily on set, but when you're dealing with clients, because they could be like, "Hey, man, could you trim this by 30 seconds and also stop being such a fucking snowflake?" Like, does the client ever email you stuff like that? Like,
No, I mean, I
yeah,
made, I made the decision a couple of years ago. Like, you know, I could not post as political as I do on Facebook, and you know, maybe I'd get a couple extra clients out of that,
right.
or it's America. I'm just gonna fucking say what I feel and speak up. And if you don't want to work with me because of that, then I probably don't want to work with you either. So, you know, it's mutual
They probably didn't want
decision
to pay
there.
your full rate anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And fuck those clients. Those are always the worst client. The $500
Yeah.
client. I'm working on the video for fucking 6 weeks. He's got 18 changes. And the $3,000 client, you send them one video. They're like, "Oh my God, it's amazing. You're so good at what you do." And it's like, oh yeah, so we should stop chasing the low dollar bullshit. So
no, I quoted somebody like a homie price like 2 weeks ago that was like, "Yeah, I want to do business with you and I want to help you out." He's like, "I just need some talking head videos, this and that." I was like, "All right," I gave him a $2,000 quote as a super homie cost.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, my boss found somebody for 600." I'm like, I was like, you know what?
Like, yeah. Fuck
Dodge
that.
Dodge that bullet. I was like, "Oh man, you want to pay?" I was like, "Damn." Okay. I was like, "All right, no worries. No skin off my back."
It's funny. People just generally don't seem to know everything that goes into it. I've definitely had you know, when dealing with clients and trying to walk them through that initial sticker shock of like, you know, it's all this money we invested to buy the lights, the camera, the sound, the lenses. And then it's the manpower to shoot, and then it's the fucking post-production, and it's like, you know, it's more than just, oh yeah, it's a couple videos, it'll take you like an hour, right?
I have a friend that has a camera. If that's going to make it cheaper. Oh no! Tell your friend with his camera to stay home. He's got a red though.
I got an iPhone 11.
My friend has a Blackmagic camera. Do you want him to bring it to set? I'm like, I'm not even set up for the Blackmagic. We got our own GH5 setup over here, but so keep that at home.
Look, we're Team Blackmagic over here, but it's okay. It's okay. We don't have to get into that.
You don't have to. That's like that Lumix life is not for everybody. All right, tell me about Rising Tides, man, because I know, like I said, like I talked to you before, it was like when you started talking about it, it seemed like an interesting collective, like, you know, bringing different people in, kind of, you know, I love the concept behind it, Rising Tide, lifts all the sailboats, right? Something like that. I'm always in the spirit of collaboration, but, unfortunately, I really couldn't, fuck with it at the time. Although I'm glad that I connected with you because I do want to connect with you on future stuff. But tell us a little bit about kind of what you saw in the industry or locally that needed fixing and kind of how you went about kind of creating this.
Yeah, I mean, so this is where the answer can get long-winded, but I'll try to keep it brief. Basically what Rising Tides is okay, I guess I'll take it back, right? What's the problem I saw in the industry? So I was sitting up in my hotel room.
Aaron might be frozen or a little lag spike here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You're back. Sorry, you lagged a little bit there. All right, go ahead.
It's all good. Wi-Fi here is suspect. Good to go?
Okay. Yeah, you're good. Yeah, keep going.
Word. So yeah. I mean, so the idea for the company, or what became Rising Tides Creative, started back at that film festival that I've kind of brought up, Catalyst. So I was up in Minnesota last year. It was the last day, and didn't win any awards. I kind of knew I wasn't probably going to win any awards, right? But you have all these expectations of, oh, it's the film festival.
Email that he asked you?
Right.
That's how you know. That's how you know when the double check that you're going to be there. Hey, you're coming to the award show, right? Like, yes.
Yeah. You're like, oh, fuck yeah. No, it's I set up all these outsized expectations on like, oh, well, my career is just gonna take off after this film festival, right? I'll meet the agent and we'll do the thing and we'll sell the show and the rest will be history. And I'm at that last day. I didn't win any awards, didn't have that meet cute story with an agent, and I'm kind of thinking like, well, what the fuck am I gonna do? I spent $30,000 on this pilot, and this is where it got me. What am I supposed to do to break in this industry? There's kind of got to be somewhat of a better way. And it kind of started this idea that to have a different way to kind of break into Hollywood, like to create one, because there really isn't one for an independent filmmaker, actor, musician. You kind of can do your own thing on the internet and go viral, maybe get lucky, have some success and find an agent from that. But that's, you're playing the odds, you're playing the cards, you're throwing your stuff up there with everybody else now who records something that they think is funny. So the idea was, what if we kind of start bringing people together, bringing filmmakers together, bringing the best of creatives together, all with the purpose of coming under one banner, but still having our own individual, 2 AM Burrito, still having our own individual brands, but coming under one banner to try to get our content viewed more by each other, by other people, by what we're doing. And what really the company became, I realized, is that we really want to set this up for the next generation of artists. That's how we're really going to make an impact in Hollywood. So what we ended up deciding is we're turning out a whole education wing of the company. So the company's kind of going to be built on like 4 different areas of the industry. It's going to be built on education, which was supposed to launch this summer, and then COVID just fucked us over. We were going to do summer camps for high schoolers and junior hires, basically showing them all the questions that I had when I was in high school, just starting in the industry, all the bullshit I didn't know. We're not just going to show them how to make a film, but we're going to show them what to do with it. What do you do as an indie filmmaker? Where do you put this? What are my options? How do I actually move forward in this career? And that was kind of the idea of like, okay, if we can start an education section and start kind of bringing up the next generation with our brand, Rising Tides. And then at the same time, we have an agency side of the business where we're doing business to business work. So I'm getting people who are collaborative filmmakers with me. I'm getting them working. I'm getting them paid. I'm getting them on jobs and working in the industry that they actually want to work in. And then from there, the agency side of the business can use a lot of those funds, the profit that we start to make, to start producing our own content in-house. And we have a lot of grander ideas of basically the end stage of the game is within a year or two, go out, find a big property, find a big empty warehouse, find there's going to be so many office buildings like this that have 2-3 floors just empty because the real estate market for businesses is just about to tank and going to keep tanking. So we're going to find a spot. And then we're going to go out, and I've been meeting people in the business community for the last 2 years, and we're going to get investors for basically a one-of-a-kind creative co-work space. That's a massive space where we outfit it into all these different studios, a green screen room, a white screen room, a place where we can build sets, a dedicated audio booth for podcast and voiceovers, and then people basically pay monthly to be a part of the collective. You can come in, use all our facilities a number of times. We'll have an edit bay for anybody who wants to come edit. And then you can essentially know that part of your contribution, the idea with the co-work is we would only break even, and every profit after that would go back in towards a grand fund for us to create shit. Because the end goal of everything with this company was trying to create an infrastructure so I can create and so other people can create, because that's what we're all fucking in this for, right? I know that's why I'm in it. I've kind of fallen in love with doing some corporate stuff and coming up with funny sketches and advertisements for businesses, but I want to write and direct. That's what I want to do. I want to make movies. I want to make TV shows, and that's what most of my actor friends want to do. They're happy to help me with these sketches, but they want to get into doing what they love. And so if we can kind of create that ourselves apart from Hollywood, get a space, get a studio, just start producing and have a place where creatives and musicians and photographers and actors and filmmakers are just coming and creating and interacting with each other and building that artistic community. So much of what we had planned was going to be with events. And events have also, much like the education stuff we have, they've taken a fucking dive, and I have to adapt to that. So when events do come back, you will be fucking hearing our name out there everywhere, because we want to all sorts of mixers for filmmakers, for businesses, for just all the artists in the area. Because that's the one thing I noticed about San Diego, and you can probably second this, is that not only is our film community kind of like pocketed out between little groups that kind of only kind of work with each other. I mean, there is some crossbreeding. Right. It's generally pretty, sectioned out. So is the arts community in general. I mean, the music community doesn't really interact with the film community, and the photographers and the arts community of people who paint and do woodwork and all this stuff. There should be more interaction with all of us, because we're all trying to do the same fucking thing.
Yeah, I think that the good example is me and you. We're both writer directors, kind of like, CEOs of our own little fucking chiefdoms or what have you. And there's plenty of actors, probably 50, 60 actors that have worked with you and work with me. Yeah, but me and you have never workst together. Right.
Dominic, Shelly, Randy, you can just start the list.
I'll a list, and so it's like Shelly, when I sent this to my burritos team chat, she was like, "Oh, I love Aaron. I'll catch the VOD later." But so it's weird because there's all these little pockets, and they each have somebody. So you would think it would make sense that, but I think there's also a lot of egos involved, because there's also a lot of, like, I think. You and I could probably work together because we both sort of have a comedic sort of twinge to our shows, to the stuff that we make. Even when I make a horror movie, it's got comedy elements, Yeah. There's a lot of people that are doing horror and this and other things. So yeah, it is. I've always wondered. I was like, if everybody could put their egos aside, right, and then be like, you know what? Let's be honest with ourselves. The best writing is coming out of here. The best cinematography is coming from these people. The person who seems to be able to direct, and then the editing is coming from, like, you know what I mean? If we set aside something like that, then I think that people will be like, all right, cool. This hitter's going to do this. This person's going to do this. She's going to do that. He's going to do that. Like, I think it's weird that doesn't happen, but I think we all think we're like the king of our own fucking kingdom, and we're like fucking supposed to be battling each other for some sort of fucking fake prize. Meanwhile, we're fucking sitting here, 130 miles away from fucking Hollywood.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's part. I never like to throw this out there too much, because I have friends who win San Diego Film Awards and submit their projects to San Diego Film Stuff. But it is part of the reason why I never found much maybe use in submitting my stuff to that, because it didn't seem like it was being done to encourage, let's bring all the community together and get people working with each other, as much as it seemed like it was just being done for recognition. Recognition is important, but it wasn't as much. It didn't seem it was about building a community. It seemed
it's a fake it till you make it approach. It's a fake it till you make it approach. We have our own Oscars. So that's like, oh, I can't go work with Aaron because I'm competing for him with for a local Oscar. No, that's not how it works. Like,
I can't. My San Diego Film Award will get laughed out of Hollywood. So
they gave me. I always got shut out of everything, but they gave me a diversity in film awards, which I thought was very, which I loved and I accepted, because I was like, damn it, they got me. But I have to show up. No, because I believe that it's something that I do naturally. People were freaking out recently about the Oscar changes for the rules. I don't want to flex, but I have to change zero about how I make movies. So if you do out there, then maybe you should check your privilege, man. No, I'm just did you notice like a lot of that in your circles? I
mean, on the Oscar stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I I don't have any real big deal with it. I mean, I think it's sad because I'm kind of like you. I mean, I don't know. I came from growing up. I mean, I really honestly, I didn't realize racism was as big of a deal until I started learning what systemic racism was. I mean, I grew up as a white kid. My best friend was, you know, the Hispanic kid, and we had the African American friends at church. Like it didn't seem to be an issue. And then you grow up and realize that that's not how everybody thinks. And you see that, oh yeah, Hollywood kind of has just like casted white people, like a predominant amount. There aren't a lot of other stories being told. And when you start to see that, it became something that, I mean, I definitely have been well aware of that and well aware of, you know, representing people well and trying to have a good, to me, it's just about like, what does the real world look like? So shouldn't that be reflective in my films, you know? So I agree. I'm kind of like you. I've never really struggled with it. So I don't see, you know, even though, yes, most of the stories I come up with are going to potentially be from a white person's point of view because I'm a white male and that's my point of view. Surprise, surprise. But that doesn't mean it doesn't mean that, you know, it doesn't mean that one, just because my story originates that way, that it also can't be portrayed by an ethnic character. Like, you know, there's no reason. And two, it also doesn't mean that I can't surround the picture with, you know, people from all backgrounds. So yeah, I guess what I would say is I found it sad that we kind of had to like legislate that in the Hollywood, you know. I find it a little sad that it was like, well, not enough people are doing it, so I guess we'll make them do it, or you can't win an Oscar. Like, you know, I find that a little sad, but I don't have any problems with it.
No, I think that for me, it's like I can understand, like, if you want to get to like the core of art and somebody saying like, well, you telling me that I can't do that is hindering my artistic process. And you could, at that molecular level of art, you could have a point. But I think it's the Oscars have been, yeah, the way you become a voter for the Oscars is, you know, another Oscar voter has to try to bring you in, or you have to be nominated or win an Oscar. And if the only people winning Oscars are white people and the movies they're watching there, then why wouldn't they say, I like this white movie? You know, stuff like that. So they've done it. They're trying to take out older voters, I guess, or people that haven't been relevant in Hollywood for a while and get them off like the voter registers. And they're trying this diversity initiative because, you know, they get shit every year that's louder and louder about the lack of candidates. So they're basically saying, yes, it's a reaction. Yes, it's a reaction to woke culture. Yes, it absolutely is. If nobody was complaining, Oscars so white, no women directors, if nobody was saying that, the Oscars would stay the fuck the same. So they are, it's absolutely a political correct move in response to shit that they're getting. But they're also a private organization, and they can, you know, and if the rules to submit to their projects are that you have to have 30% diversity, oh my God, I'm freaking out. Like you can have that behind the scenes, your DP, your makeup artist, your writers, like the entirety of my production team is all these super strong women in my life that help, you know, that do a lot of shit better than I could ever do in terms of like logistics, planning, shit like that. And even on set, like I just like to create and come up with crazy shit. Like if I didn't have my ADs, I would fucking be lost because they're like, no, Lou, we got to do this and we can't do that. No more. You get one crazy shot. That's it. No more, you know? So I just think it's about just kind of like being true to yourself and just being, and then just when you write your film, open yourself up, like you said, to, okay, what if this character wasn't white? What if, like you have the story written, and I was like, let me change the perspective for a second. Yeah. You know, have an open ethnicity casting policy, like view actors from all walks of life. Like
that's what I try to do with almost every role at this point, because there are very few instances where it is kind of like it needs to be a certain rate. You know what I mean? Like there's really no reason that when I'm doing we turn the cast members into a feature. That's the movie I've been writing for 2 years. And there's no reason when I'm going out to cast for the lead role of Alex. Sure, when I'm writing Alex, I'm picturing myself in that situation. I'm putting myself into it, but there's nothing about that character that can't be any other ethnicity. So there's no reason not to audition anybody, and find the best actor or find the best person for the role. So it definitely, I think that's a big thing. Writing more characters kind of like that, and then doing the same thing in your casting rooms.
All right, well, man, I appreciate your approach to just even your posts, because I think they come from a very honest and empathic sort of place. Like I feel like you said, you grew up one way, and you were kind of, and then you sort of came to your own conclusions about shit. I grew up, a beneficiary of the Latin American patriarchy, and was treated like a fucking king in my, when I was a little kid. And I grew up with very sexist views because of that. And I had to like smack myself in the face and say, you know what, that's not really how shit is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I had to, we're all adjusting to the shit we learned as kids. I had an interview with a friend of mine that was a skinhead for 15 years. And he was, like, people can change. So people, and the fact that you post and you kind of carry yourself this way, and the company that you're trying to create, and how you're trying to, I feel like it's coming from a very real, empathic place, and a real place. And I feel that, and that energy comes through, at least for myself. So, I'm really glad. I appreciate the fact that you took time to talk to me today, man.
Thank you.
I have two last things, and then I'm going to let you go, all right? We have the bracket bit that we always do. But also, you watched part of Insecurity, which is a pilot that I wrote along with some people and directed. And it's, it's one of those things for myself that when we created it several years ago, it just got stuck in that post-production sort of hell when things aren't right and budget doesn't come through and shit like that. And now I'm finally at a place where I'm trying to finish it. You watch some of it. I want to make sure that it still plays as relevant. That and then you and a couple of the things that people have told me is that they get sort of Office-ish sort of vibe from it. Mostly it's Super Troopers meets The Office is what I'm getting. But just your initial thoughts on it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I love workplace comedies, right? Like that's my that's my bread and butter right now. That's all I've done.
It's right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, I know, it's right. It's right there. So I loved it. I mean, I really, if you want more of the critique side, I mean, it's definitely, I found moments where I think you could have edited a little quicker to make some of the jokes land a little quicker. But I felt a little bit of Kevin Smith from it too, like just within that conversational about Star Wars and, like kind of the pop culture references and stuff like that. So I think that stuff always plays. I mean, it definitely.
I had to take out a very specific Kylo Ren, but first trilogy movie, because I realized that she was like, oh, Kylo Ren's such a pussy, he could have just force choked that bitch. And I realized that it's not really a relevant Star Wars joke as it stands now with the canon, so I had to take that out. But
that's too funny. I'm always down for a good Star Wars joke. There's usually one in every draft of something I write. It doesn't always make it all the way, but yeah, I mean, it's always that. The only other thing I saw is maybe like, and obviously it comes with when you're shooting something like this, right, where you're putting it in production, then it's in post, and then it's bouncing back and forth. Have a really strong storyline to just take it through every scene, or most of the scenes. I thought, but it's a pilot. That's my biggest thing I hate about my own pilots is that opening setup. It's that where you have to almost lay it on a platter of like, here's what the world is. I know we got to get through this. Here's the characters, blah, 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 blah. Like it's every pilot I've almost ever seen suffers from a little bit of that. Do you think that if it was, do you think that if it had those into camera moments, it would add to it, or you think it's better just as it is? Well, you see, that's the thing. I think you always could add those to camera moments and you would get more jokes. So, that's just where it always depends on what do you want the show to be. I mean, like, again, that's the reason part of the reason I did it with Chartered was also because we got to work with the guy from Parks and Rec, and we got to work with the guy from Chuck. And so once I had this all-star cast, I was like, well, I'm going to go and just do the mockumentary thing and try to get as many jokes per minute as I can out of it, you know. But there is something to be said for stories told the other way. So.
Yeah, and yeah, I always consider myself the Colombian Kevin Smith. So no, I'm just kidding. But we get compared.
It's okay. I've been considered the next Kevin Smith in a way. I don't know. It's been tossed around. It's fine.
But yeah, I don't know if you ever saw Slapworthy, but there's some stuff in there. That was one of my features. I'll shoot it to you in case you get time. But I appreciate the feedback. Send me those notes if you get it. Either way, I'm looking at any sort of critique. I'm just trying to finish it. The main issues was sound because we had 4 labs.
Yeah, that was
plus
the
boom.
Yeah,
it was like 4. Everybody had a lab, and then we had boom. So on every fucking scene, somebody's lab was fucking. And then I have all my sounds. So I had to so it's like isolating individual audio on individual parts of a take, and audio is not my strong suit. That's like
that was that's like the biggest thing I learned like from the very first shoot I did. The audio was garbage. I was like, oh well, we can't use any of this footage now. And so learning how much that was like out of that $30,000, I think about $5,000 of that went to just paying a professional sound person for Chartered, because I was just like, I'm not doing this whole big production without making sure I have somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing with sound.
Yeah, that's smart, because it looks great and it also sounds professional, and it's funny. It's something people can relate to. I mean, you had a really solid cast for that. So yeah, kid's got potential. I can see you like as a utility, sort of like a Jeff McNeil type, like an outfielder, infielder, first ball hit, like just come up to the plate, first ball swinger, something like that, especially with all that passion you got.
I had a lot of hustle. That was the thing, right? I had a lot of heart.
Charlie Hustle. All right, I gotta use one of these. Transitions because I never do. And I'm going to go to our final bit with you, Aaron. And since you are the maker of not 1, but 2 mockumentaries, the bracket bit today is all about famous mockumentaries. I'm going to give you 2 mockumentaries, and only one of them can move on to the next round. You ready for this? NCAA style.
Let's do it.
Very dramatic transition there. All right, this is the mockumentary bracket bit. All right, let's get to the heavy hitters here. We have This Is Spinal Tap and the Blair Witch Project.
Oh, well, I mean, I think this will be easy just because we talked about it's comedy versus horror. I mean, it's going to be Spinal Tap. It's a first round. Turn it up to 11, and
it's a 1-8 matchup. It's the Blair Witch is lucky. Blair Witch is lucky to get into the tournament at this point. All right, this is another one. Best in Show, Trailer Park Boys.
Probably Trailer Park Boys.
Trailer Park Boys in an upset. What We Do in the Shadows. Waiting for Guffman.
I just got into What We Do in the Shadows, and I am pissed I didn't have the idea, because it was such a great idea. It's one of those shows you're like, oh fuck, how did I not come up with that? Because then that would be me right now. But I'll take What We Do in the Shadows. It's good.
All right, Waiting for Guffman though is still a classic if you guys.
It is.
All right, Borat or District 9. This is a tough one for me.
District 9 is just a fantastic movie.
It's an excellent. Yeah, it's excellent.
I mean,
you don't even think of it as a mockumentary.
No, really, I forgot it was, and then now that it's being brought up, I do remember that it was a mockumentary. Oh, God, it's a coin flip. I guess I'll have to say the bigger impact in my life. I never went around for 2 months in high school quoting District 9, but I did go around quoting Borat. So I'll have to go with Borat.
I quote Borat every day.
Right?
That's a tough matchup. That's like a 4-5 matchup right there. That's a tough one. All right. I don't know if this is before your time, but Aaron Brooks had a movie called Real Life, the early 80s, late 70s, or Modern Family.
I love Modern Family. I'm a sucker. I think they did it really well. It's one of those shows that whatever episode's on reruns, I will watch. So
it's a good show. Right. The Joaquin Phoenix movie, I'm Still Here, mockumentary, or, and I guess because of the narration, Arrested Development.
Yeah, definitely Arrested. I mean, the movie is great, but those first 3 seasons of Arrested Development, I mean,
yeah,
there's jokes per minute. It lands a lot there. It's a great show. It's insane.
It's always money at the banana stand.
Always money in the banana stand.
All right, and in the final 2 first-round match, The Office. It doesn't even matter who I say the second one is, but it's 3 from Hell.
Yeah, it'll be The Office.
And then Drop Dead Gorgeous, an old school pageant movie, or Parks and Rec. That's another easy one.
Parks, yeah.
Right, that sets up a horrible. All right, let's get down to it. The Office versus Parks and Rec. It was going to come down to it at some point.
It's I could go back and forth on this.
That's how you feeling today.
It really does, actually, and I think I will say Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec. Oh, it's an upset.
Yeah, I'll upset the internet. I'll upset Dustin Man and any other Office fans out there. It might just be because I've worked with an actor from Parks and Rec, and I get to say that. You know, it might be that just a little bit, but they're both great shows.
All right, and Trailer Park Boys versus What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, What We Do in the Shadows.
All right, and this is Spinal Tap. This is a tough one for me too. Versus Borat. It's a tough one.
I think out of the fact that this is Spinal Tap was kind of the godfather of the modern mockumentary, I'll have to put it ahead of Borat for this.
Got it. And then the Modern Family or Arrested Development. Another tough one.
Yeah, Modern Family has the history. They have the episodes, but fuck. Yeah, this one really could go either way. I'll still, I guess, stand by those first 3 seasons of Arrested Development as some of the best on TV. So let's go with that.
All right, and this is the final 4. You know who's going to come down to these 4 at some point. All right, you going Arrested Development, right?
Yeah.
So Arrested Development or Parks and Rec?
I'll take Parks.
And then What We Do in the Shadows, or this is Spinal Tap?
I guess Spinal Tap.
Which brings it down to 1 TV show, 1 classic movie. Bracket Bit 2020, Aaron David Roberts. We went mockumentary on this one, and we're going to decide between This is Spinal Tap, turning it up to 11, versus several seasons of incredibly good in-your-face. I mean, Parks and Rec is a fucking beast of a show. It upset The Office in the previous round. Parks and Rec, This is Spinal Tap.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go with Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec takes it.
Let's do it. Congratulations.
And we cut to Aubrey Plaza looking. She doesn't give a fuck.
There you go. Or my boy Jonathan Joss. Shout out to Jonathan Joss. Love you, brother.
All right, so where can people find out more about Rising Tide? They just look for Rising Tide on Facebook. Is there a specific site? Where people?
Yeah, we're like you. We're branded Rising Tides Creative everywhere. At Rising Tides Creative, Instagram, Facebook.com/Rising Tides Creative, YouTube.com/Rising Tides Creative, RisingTidesCreative.com. Personally, you can find me. My handle everywhere is at always AROB, AROB. and that's where I
You
live.
you even had a cool baseball nickname, A-Rob. Like, how did you miss that?
You picked it right up, right? I know.
Yeah. I'm not a big A-Rod fan.
The shoulder injury.
Nice shoulder. All right, man. Well, I appreciate taking the time to talk to me today, brother. I know it's been a long time coming. I wish you the best. Keep me in the loop on everything that Rising Tide is doing, man, because I want to be involved at some point. Specifically, if you guys are doing some educational stuff too, I'd love to be involved with that. Thank you, everybody who checked in today. Sorry, W, man. You were the only one in the chat section. I apologize. I'm gonna try to do better for you, man, W, man. I hope you found a good chat to be a part of. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you later. Out.
Cheers.